Okay, I am here to show you how we're going to paint this section of Girl with a Pearl Earring. I have all of my materials set up. I gave you this card that tells you what you need. This is a very helpful checklist so that you're not getting up and finding things as you need them, but you just have everything set out before you even start. So go ahead and keep this card. You should also have a bin that you're putting everything in. This is my painting bin. I pack all of this up and put it literally in here. I'm also making drawing videos. So I keep everything in this bin and then I can put it away and get it back out again. I hope that you're doing the same thing, unless you have a giant house and an art studio, in which case you should just leave yourself set up all the time. Okay, we're gonna center this 5 by 5 square on this piece of paper. Okay, so this is 5 by 5. We're gonna find the center of the paper. I'm gonna do this upside down so I can see it a little bit better, but it would make sense for you to keep your ruler upright. Okay, so I'm gonna mark the 4.5 in 3 places. And I give you guys a lot of points for this because I really want you to know how to do this. You need to be able to have a conception of how to spatially divide. This is a life skill, not just an art skill, but we're applying it here in art. So I found the center and I made a line, a very light line, because I want to be able to erase it if I want to. Okay, and then this is 6 inches across. You have the same paper that I do. It's 9 by 6 because it was 9 by 12, and I cut it in half. Okay, so I'm marking, actually I'm doing this in the most confusing way. Okay, I'll start at the 0. Okay, so here's my center line this way. So I'm gonna make this 5 inches across, centered on this line. Half of 5 is 2.5. And I'm holding my ruler upside down so that I can see the edge of it, because since it's flat and I'm trying to stay out of the video with my own self, this is easier, but I don't expect you to hold your ruler upside down. So I'm putting it on the 2.5 mark because that's half of 5, and then I'm marking the 0 and the 5. And then I'm gonna line these 3 marks up. I made 3 because if I'm off by one of them, it's gonna be more obvious to me. Because I'll have 2, hopefully, that are right, and then 1 that maybe isn't. Okay, and then I'm gonna measure 5 off of this center line. So that's 2.5 in the center, and I'm marking the 0 and the 5. I'm lining up with 2.5 again. And again, this is not an art skill, this is a basic measuring skill. So if you're having trouble doing this, please ask someone in your household to help you. I can help you, but I can only spend so much time with you in person, in between classes or whatever. So I can show it to you in person, but see if you can figure it out yourself. Okay, now I need to tape this down. I'm gonna stretch it. And again, I'm gonna put the tape on my clothes. It's a little bit easier to guide if I leave it on the roll. So I'm taping it to my shirt before I'm taping it here. That's hopefully gonna help me not have it adhere so strongly that it rips my paper. All right, now if I wanna mask my paper, I can put it right up against here, but this doesn't actually stretch it, so I still need to put a piece over here on the edge. Because as you recall, we're teaching the paper to go back to flat. It'll absorb a little bit of water, it'll get wobbly. This also gives me a nice strong surface to control the painting and just keep everything predictable. My paper's not gonna move around while I'm painting on the surface. Now, the plywood, the MDF might move, but that's also unlikely. I'm generally more in control. Okay, so I'm gonna start with my pencil. I could go right in with my brush, but I'm gonna start with my pencil and I'm gonna lay this out. We're gonna do this just like we've been doing other things. When we do bark plates or whatever, we always want to measure off of the edge visually to see where things intersect, okay? So her cheek comes to about here, and we're at a 1-to-1 scale. So this is the same size as this, so I don't have to make it bigger or smaller in order to transfer it. I can put this, actually, it would probably help me. I gave you a reproduction of the painting here, and you're gonna watch a short Khan Academy video about it so that you know one of the most famous paintings in the world. People really like this painting. Okay, I just want to give myself a basic layout of the shape of her cheek, which is fairly angular, except for this soft contour right here. Okay, and then we've got a nose. If this is my halfway point, I want to go past the halfway point. This is probably a little bit past the quarter point. I can measure this here. Okay. And then I want to think about, okay, if this is the halfway point, her lip starts above here. I want to think about this. I want to think about this distance. If I hold this too far off the edge, you're not going to be able to see it. Okay. And where is this slope here in between the nose and the mouth? We have highlights here that make this a very effective image. So we're going to get to study that. We did an eye last time, so I thought, we'll do a mouth. I want to look at these two things next to each other where I can see them both. Okay, and then this is kind of where this shadow starts. So everything on this side is darker than this highlighted area here. And her neck starts right here. Okay. I'm gonna call that a start and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I want to get some basic values in here so that I can glaze on them, and it will be helpful if things start to dry. So I don't want to put too much paint on because then I have to wait for it to dry. But if I put thin layers of paint, hopefully it'll dry faster. Okay. So just like I always do, I've got a black, 2 whites. This is my glazing medium, acrylic painting medium. I'm gonna mix a middle gray. I'm gonna make sure that it's nice and mixed. Changing directions with my palette knife to help this paint mix. Okay, and then I have paper towels. So I'm going to start out with 3 values, just like we always do. We'll start out with black. And again, I want to make sure that I'm not putting this on too thickly, although I don't expect a glaze over this black. It's just going to stay as it is. I'm also going to put black here. This is a pretty dark. A little bit right here. And then a lot of this is going to be my mid-tone gray. Okay, so now I'm going to mix my intermediate colors. So we're going to make a darker gray, which is going to take us one step towards black. I'm going to take some of that and make a darker gray. And I want the kind of gray that I'm going to put here, at least almost. Okay. I don't have quite enough paint here. Let me mix some more intermediate. I'm going to take some of this over here. We're going to mix some white with it to go a step later. So this is my intermediate gray that I've retained because I want to be able to go back and use that color. Okay. I think I want this one to be a little lighter. And then this one to be lighter still. And more white. I don't want to take too much because I don't want to waste paint. Okay. So we're going to go in with the 7 values. We're not going to do this as completely as we did in the last painting because we're going to use glazing medium to get us where we need to go. To be fully blended. And I'm looking at these relative values. So this value compared to this value. And looking at those, I need to make this one darker than I have and this one a little bit lighter. Okay, so again, I'm looking at these values in relationship to each other. And we get this high contrast on her lips that makes it look like her lips are wet. We got kind of a bleed here that we can work with. Because we want to blend this area. Okay. So I'm pretty much going to call us ready to refine this a little more. Okay, which means we want to pick up some of this acrylic medium, okay? So you could think of this as binder without paint. It's not exactly that, but if we want to thin our paint or the color of our paint without, or make it more flowing without having to make it watery, we can add some of this. And I'll show you over here. We can see what's underneath, okay? It also helps us to blend a little bit better because it makes the paint more flowing and more transparent. And so this is a fantastic addition to our tools here. So I'm going to start over here. I want to make this, some of this is scumbled, which means that it's kind of like dry brushed here. It's not entirely smoothed. But I can go over this with painting medium and a little bit different value, and I don't entirely cover up everything that I have. So this enables you to keep from having to redraw over and over again. So you can retain some of what you've already worked for, but change the value, or when we get to color, change the hue, but only slightly. It also enables us to go a little bit slower in the changes that we're making as we become more sure of what we want to do. It helps us to blend the colors because of the way it changes the flow of the paint. So I'm just mixing paint with medium, and then I'm laying it on top of what I already have. And that's just making a slow change in the value of the paint, because I can still see what's underneath. I can blend more carefully, and it just takes a little bit of experience to get used to using it. And I can still go back if I wanted to and use paint without medium if I want to totally cover something up, for example. I'm going to work with medium for this transition. So I'm going to take my lightest gray, and you see how I can cover up some of this darker gray, but it doesn't entirely cover it. And having this at my disposal just gives me more control of the paint, which is what we always want, control of paint. Okay. And I can go for a lighter color over here. There's a little bit of maybe reflected light. And if I use a lot of medium and only a little bit of that light gray pigment, as I lay this on, it makes a really subtle change. Maybe you can see that. Because this is still darker than this over here. I'm always looking at the relative value, but I want to be able to be in control of this very gradual, subtle change that I'm making to the painting, instead of just repainting over and over. And so you see that I brought that to like a pop of light. Now this I need to darken, and this is, again, I say this before, but as I look, I see more. I see more subtlety, more difference between what's in front of me that I didn't notice before. So part of what makes this shape up to her upper lip cleft is that this is a little bit dark, but I want to be really in control of this. So I'm going to use medium, and I don't even know if you can see this in the video, but I'm very slowly, very subtly changing this. And that gives me a little bit of dimension here as we lead up to this lip. Now this, I need to bleed a little bit. I need this darker value to become more subtle. And I believe that's my mid-tone gray, so I'm going to pick up some mid-tone gray and some medium. And I'm going to lay that in here going across to try to darken maybe part of this. I think that's what I want to do. We'll see. This whole area lightens a little bit. And Vermeer was famous for his glazes. That's what part of what's so likable about him is that he's got these very careful, very studied paintings, and there's lots of light. And part of the way he achieves that light is the way the light moves through the glazes that he paints. So you can see how I'm making that light. I'm not sure I want this to be light, but we're gonna try it. So at this point, we're painting together. I'm painting with you. I want you to observe this for yourself because you might see things that I don't see. And I really want you to observe Vermeer. I'm going to paint over this highlight and get it back because that is not a glaze, that is a touch of white. So let's see if we can work with the rest of this. Now this is where her mouth really bleeds into her skin, so glazing is going to help me here. I have too much white on my brush. Yeah, and see, I'm able to get this softness, this transition. I could not do this very well with without medium. Because the medium just lets me feather over that other color in a way that softens the transition. Let's see, I don't want so much medium right here. I kind of have a mark from the paint previously. I'm going to make all of this my lightest gray, and then I'm going to bring back the highlights with glazing. And I can glaze just with white and bring some of this out more. Okay, I'm going to do the opposite here. I've got it light, except for this highlight right here. I hope you can see this. That's basically a spot of white, but I'm going to dim this with some medium, and I'm going to try my second gray. We'll see. I think this is too light. Well, Okay, let's use that here. And over here we can dim, because this all fades together. And this fades into her skin. There's a little bit of a highlight here, just ever so slightly. Okay, now I'm going to go darker with my mid-tone gray. Glaze over this. And I'm going to switch brushes actually. I think for this I can have a little more control. I don't like this one either. I don't have one of the silver ones you guys have. That's what you should use for this. Okay. I'm gonna refine this shape a little bit. And I don't have medium on my brush right now. Okay, this is my second to darkest gray. I'm gonna go in with some medium and glaze right here. Let me see if I can get a smoother transition here on her lips in this like semi-dark area. And I want to pull this black out of being completely black. It's dark, but it's not as black as the edge here all the way in. So this is my darkest gray. And then I'm gonna glaze the very inside rim of her lip with black. I'm gonna use black, medium. Let's see if this works. And the effect of this, I can't get with paint just by itself, at least not very easily. Okay, now there's some bleed here on her upper lip. I'm gonna do that with medium too. I'm gonna go in, I'm not ready for the darkest gray. I'm gonna go with the second to darkest gray. I think this is gonna be too light, but let's see. Yeah, it's too late. Let's try the darkest gray. Because I want to retain this darkness and just spread it a little bit. This is really a fantastic effect that he gets in this painting. Her lips look wet and shiny and also just separated in the most casual way. It is not easy to make a mouth look this natural, but Vermeer does it really beautifully. Okay. Now let's deal with these teeth. Also difficult. We don't have to worry about it because we're just copying Vermeer's lines, but it is not easy to make teeth in a painting. Okay. It's very easy for teeth to look unnatural. Okay, I can see the individual teeth almost. I got 1, 2, kind of 3. I'm gonna do this with not my whitest white, but this second. It's like, I'm gonna glaze that down. You have to watch this because if it looks better, just leave it undefined, then do that, but we're gonna try. See how hard it is to make teeth? How's he do it? It's amazing. Try to knock the value down of this part of her teeth just a little bit. It's harder than it sounds. Okay, I'm fussing with this a lot, but okay, not too bad. Okay, now I'm gonna glaze with white. And I think we're getting to the end here. I'm gonna bring a little bit of this highlight back to the lips. Might need to change brushes again, let's see. Okay, this over here is not a highlight. I mean, is not a glazed highlight. That's just straight paint. But I'm gonna bring some of this back. I'm just choosing the areas that are most light. And then I've got, this is just medium and white. And the edge here is not, a little bit softer. And I have it. Okay, I'm gonna look at this area of the lip. Just a little bit dark up here. Again, just like bleeds into her skin. And you can't see this, but I'm turning my head a little bit to not see the shine of the wetness. Okay, that helps me read it a little bit better. Okay. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. I think. I'm gonna hit these highlights real quick on the mouth. Okay. Very corner here of her mouth. I have a little piece of something here. Okay, and that's right where my highlight is. I'm gonna do this with a round brush. I'm gonna take just straight white, just apply it right here, right here. There's a dot highlight right here, and a little bit of a highlight right there. And as this is drying, it's a little bit too light. Maybe a little too light. Okay. I think I'm done. I'm happy enough with this, and I can't wait to see what yours looks like.